Nice time for tea. Nighttime too. So obviously, sleepy time tea does not pan well when you're trying to make a video. So how you guys doing? So something that you know, it's really hard to talk about personal stuff. I think a lot of guys go through that. I made other videos talking about it, and I described how some people it's hard for them to be heard. I think the biggest struggle that we have is being understood and heard. And if you're going through something and you got to let it out, you want to talk about it, it's very vulnerable, especially for guys. And if you have someone in your life that you can express things to, that's very good. You're very lucky. That's beautiful. The problem that a lot of guys have is they don't have that. And they have a fear of opening up. And there's times where they will open up and it's immediately dismissed, right? So, say you open up about something that's bothering you or that's like going on emotionally in your life, right? And the person kind of hears what you're saying and then immediately regurgitates something to dismiss what you're feeling and what you said. You feel what I'm stepping in, right? Let me take a little sip and I'll dive deeper. So, for an example, say you don't like your job. Your job sucks and you hate going to your job every day and you want to express it to somebody and get it off your chest, right? One of these examples would be you're finally opening it up to somebody and you're like, I I hate my job. It's draining me. I can't stand it. And all these things, and you go down a laundry list. Then the person stops you and they're like, at least you have work. At least you have a job. Some people don't have a job. And internally, they might be thinking they got a negative. We're going to transmute that into a positive, and that'll make them feel better. And from being on both spectrums of a conversation like that, the person that's listening and then the person that's expressing what's bothering them, the person that is listening thinks they're doing the right thing and being helpful, but it's not. And if you don't know how to properly listen and kind of help talk with someone about what they're going through, it can be very hard to connect, right? Then being the person on the other spectrum where they're trying to express what's bothering them, it makes it worse because they get frustrated because they don't feel understood. The person doesn't hear what they're saying, right? And it's a learning process to be the listener and to be the person to express. It's not really, if you are not a good communicator, it's difficult to explain what's going on internally. I mean, we put human words to things that we feel inside our bodies, but it's so difficult to do that. I mean, to try to find words in your vocabulary that might describe pain or the weird feeling that you get when you had someone in a relationship that you're with and they betrayed you. And then after that betrayal, you see them and it's like to them it's oblivious and they're just doing their life and so happy. And you have that feeling inside yourself and you're like, I don't know how to explain this. Is it like a pain in my heart? Is it a cut? Is it like a coldness? Like, I don't know how to put words to it. And being that person, not being able to communicate and use, you know, extensive amount of vocabulary to explain how you're feeling, it's hard. And it's not something we get to practice all the time because we don't get a chance to. So we use a very small, dumbed down vocabulary. Not saying you're a dumb person by any means, or I am, or anybody. But we often use simple things to try to explain really difficult things that we feel inside, is the main point I'm getting across. But when we get those opportunities and we finally try to communicate what we're feeling, it just doesn't go well for the other person that's listening, because they only hear bits and pieces and they're trying to put it together so they can just make you feel better. If they're a good person, that's what they're trying to do. And that's where it gets frustrating because you try to express what you're feeling and it's not heard, and you never feel heard. You don't feel understood, right? It happens in relationships, it happens in marriages, it happens in friendships, family matters, anything like that. And then on the opposite spectrum, when you are the listener, you have to almost listen from your heart and less so logically from your mind. And very A to B type thinking people have a hard time with this. I've been that kind of person, right? Where I would have a partner and I would hear what she's going through and immediately be like, well, how about this? You got this positive thing and that positive thing. And there's times where you're in a bad spot or not a good place, and someone just says, oh, well, you could be happy. Look at this, look at that, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't phase you. It doesn't do anything, right? It's like you got this glass wall in front of you, and everything they're saying is just like not doing it, right? It's not having an effect on you because it just feels like you're minimized, and it's like, well, this is pointless to talk about because I can't express how I'm feeling. So here comes more depression and more isolation, and we don't want that for you. We don't want that for anybody. So being a good listener to help someone who wants to express something, right? The biggest tip I can give is to listen from your heart is one, but then another trick, well, it's not even a trick, it's really a skill, is to learn how to validate. Hear what the person's talking about, and after they finish speaking, feel it and think about it, and validate and kind of repeat a little bit of what they said. So, kind of like back to the example of their job situation. Someone hates their job, they feel like it's draining their life. They go to this thing that's mundane. Every day they clock in, clock out. They feel like their life is dissolving in front of their eyes. They're depressed. To be that good listener, you validate what they're going through. It's like, yeah, I could see how you clock in and clock out at the same place. The scenery doesn't change. The environment, the people. I could see how that can get dull. Man, could be in that same situation. If I was too, I'd probably feel how you are. I'd probably be depressed. I'd probably be a little sad. That's understandable. It's like, it's okay if you feel like that. I get it. And then you can progress the conversation and slowly take it into maybe tips to help them maybe look for a different work or find ways to make their job more enjoyable. But you see how like the minute details make the biggest difference, because you're instead of here's the person and the problem and here's you the listener, you're not just viewing the person and looking at them, right? You're over here. This is terrible with my hands. Okay, so I'm going to try this the best I can, but listener, speaker, trying to say how they feel. Instead of viewing the situation, you're next to the person, and you're both viewing it together as a union. And you see the difference? because you're side by side looking at the problem and it's not an outsider looking at the problem within. So it helps to validate. And man, you could break through so many things with people if they just feel like their emotions are normal. Because so often we isolate, and like, if I had like a turtle shell or a big coat, I'll pull the coat up, and like huddle up in my turtle shell. We often do that with our emotions because we feel out of place and weird. Like, we'll look at other people and be like, dang, they're happy. Why am I not happy? Like, why do I feel so dead inside? Like, that something must be wrong with me. Or I have this hard time trusting someone after this relationship. And I see these other people, I go online and look, Jerry just found a new girl, and Cassandra just found a new man, and everybody's getting through relationships a lot better than I am. Something's got to be wrong with me. I'm a weirdo, right? And that's what happens, is like, we isolate ourselves more because we're viewing other people's lives. And it's normal to feel certain emotions, but we tend to forget that. We tend to forget and just be like, everybody else is like in this other bracket and I'm just distances away. And when you are the listener to a person that's trying to speak their emotions, if you can validate that, kind of back to the union thing, it makes them feel human again, and like makes the person realize, whoa, I'm okay. Like, people feel like this at times. Life is not a linear, diagonal, straight up, always great. It is very wavy. Life has its ups and it has its downs. So this video is kind of like a twofold, like how to talk about your emotions, and then how to be the good listener. So if anything, what I found is, if you can't find it out there, you can find it within yourself. And what I mean by that is, the more you learn how to validate people and listen to people better, it in turn helps you learn how to communicate and understand emotions and build your emotional intelligence, so that when you have situations and you got to talk about stuff, you could talk about it and describe things and open up. It's a skill. It takes time. But I promise you, if you work on this, it will help you get through things that are on your back, get things off your chest, be there for friends, be there for family, be there for other people, and build yourself up. And build up others. And if we can develop a culture of people that can understand, and even if you don't agree with other people, as long as you can try to see things from their viewpoint and see why they would feel that way or what they're going through, and we can give more understanding to one another, I think that would solve a lot of BS out there. So, teacups up to you, and I hope you found some good tips and advice in this video. If you guys like the channel and like to see similar videos, please hit the subscribe button, bell notification to see more. Click the like because it helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Check out some other videos in the end card or go to the channel. See you. See you next time.